So, David Hosey from Hosey Consulting and Training. I've got a Sig 320 RX here, and it doesn't detonate. Also, the window's good. So, got a loaded magazine in, and cartridge case with a pulled bullet and primer, no damage. I've had the pistol for 2 years, for 9 months since I've got the upgrade on it. New trigger, new disconnector in here. Got several thousand rounds through it, including some rental use where it's been used and abused. More abused than I just did now. New thing is this shroud added to the Romeo I. It's a piece of sprung steel similar to what the Delta Point has. Delta Point Pro, the original Delta Point, had no shroud, had some problems with the Leopold. So they added a shroud to it. Sig just stole that idea. And it works pretty well. Leopold, by the way, stole the idea from EOTech, if you remember the old holo sights. What does it do? One, it gives extra impact on the sides here. There's a problem with this with impacts breaking it. Also, it gives impacts from the front. I can charge this against something hard here without having to touch the glass. And then lastly, these buttons here before the shroud were sticking out, and in the holster you could have problems with it getting pushed and held, just pushed against you, driving, leaning against things, whatever. And it could turn the optic off. Then you draw it when you need it and the optic's off. Now without this, I can't do it at all. With my pushing my hand down there really hard, optic's still on. So I got actually now push with my fingernails to turn it on and off, or do power selection on it. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on this, show what the upgrades are, and how this works, and a quick comparison to the Glock 19. So real quick, what I'm going to do is show how this compares to a Glock 19, show the upgrades, and then I can show you how this compares to a Glock 19 again, and you'll see why. So first, to the universal pistol, the Glock 19. This is a Gen 5, just did a review. It's a bit taller gun. If you look here, it's got a touch higher bore axis. Overall length, the slide on the Sig is a little shorter, but the beaver tail makes it overall longer length. So let me show you what the upgrades are. First, trigger. It's much lighter, and double check we're clear here. A much nicer trigger. It's still a touch spunny like a striker fired, but lighter, I'd say close to 5 pounds. Not nearly as spongy. Still has a longer reset than the Glock. Next upgrade is internal here. So we'll take it apart, lock it open. Takedown pin. That cut right there matches up with a disconnect here that changed. That's new. So really what you have now is a generation 1 before this and a generation 2 Sig. They didn't say it, but that's really what happened. Next thing we can do is we can make this smaller than that Glock 19. So this is 15 rounds here. This is a subcompact 12 round one. Do that because it's a modular handgun. Pull this out. It's like 40 degrees right now, so let's see how my hand dexterity works. Pull that out. Pull the frame out. Take our subcompact frame, lock it in on the back, push the trigger kind of on through. Snap it on in. Pull it here to kind of get it back in. Dang, I didn't drop it on the ground. Wiggle this block on through. All the way in, then down. Put the slide back on. Change the lock. Voila! Now my pinky has nowhere to go. 12-round magazine. But let's compare it to that Glock 19 again. Have it in front. You can see here, it is actually just a touch smaller than that Glock 19. Front and back, at least taller. Not as tall as the Glock 19. Front and back, that beaver tail there. It's kind of a legacy of this being a hammer-fired gun. Steel gives me a problem there. Height over bore axis hasn't changed. But this is really what makes the Sig 320 unique. Never mind the MSS contract and the M17. That says something about it. But what this does is I can make it bigger, smaller, whatever. I can change out the slide. I can change out the bottom. That little section with the trigger was what's actually the serial number gun. And spare parts like this, whatever color I want, are like $40 a piece. So I've switched the subcompact frame with the picket finger dangling, which is a problem with concealing. Well, actually, it's helpful for concealing, but a problem for full-size control at shooting. For the compact frame, back onto the compact slide here for the shooting. What you can also do is add a full-size frame to this if you really want that new Glock hotness that they're doing, the Glock 19X or Glock 45. That would give you a full-size frame with a little bit more to hold on to with that shorter slide up top. It's just the modularity of it, and it's just another $40 part. That's really a lot of what makes SIGs useful here. So next here, I'm going to just demonstrate a good idea what you can do with red dots here. Quick note on the shroud. It pushed up the red dot sight just a fraction of an inch, so my lower third co-witness is more like a lower quarter or lower fifth co-witness, but I can still co-witness with the iron sights. I'm at 40 yards here, and got a man-sized silhouette here, and I'm right-handed, right-eye dominant. Just going to do a couple shots off. Now, I want to change cover over to here. I can hang out otherwise really far. I can switch my hands here, which is awkward. A lot of people, when I train them, have issues with changing to that one eye to the other eye and also one hand to the other hand for doing ambi work. I think left-handed is useful for just one-handed shooting for an emergency use, but with a red dot here, I can still have my right hand, that trigger finger I've trained so well, and I just switch it to my left eye. Give minimal exposure out here. And easy hits with my left eye. It's just another advantage of red dots. And the trigger on this is just a touch better than that Glock. I can feel it on that. Rapid fire, it's a little slower. To wrap things up here, the Sig 2.0, the upgrades here, well, this was actually a recall. They didn't call it that for the trigger problem in the drop. Is actually a good deal on the shroud. I'm a lot more, at times I was not comfortable with carrying this gun or having it in the rotation for carry. One, that whole drop safety thing, that's a problem, and I can't use that as a rental. It's just a liability issue and not safe for my clients. Second was, before the shroud here, worried about how rugged the Romeo I was. It's now better. And then also getting turned off by pressing here. I've still got that dot when I press on this. Still fits in the holster. Not too much problems with that. So it's really improved the SIG overall on this. There are upgrades, both mandatory one and the shroud. I got this for $800. Sometimes you can find them a little less than that. This is a really good deal. If you can think of that Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS I was looking at, $600 base gun, $400 for the RMR if you're really looking good for it, and maybe another $100 for sights. This, you get all of that right out of the box. The shroud's the only thing I had to add, and that was $50, and it was literally 2 minutes to change it out. I don't need sight pushers to work the sights back and forth. I don't have to, it comes with good solid steel sights, except for one minor thing I've had after a couple thousand rounds of work. If you look in here, that sight moves back and forth a little bit. On the far right thing, it's just right on fine, and co-witnesses just fine. So not zeroed there. I could send this back with the x-ray sights. It may be a flaw in their thing, or I did push it back and forth to get it exactly lined up, and that just want to fit. I've red Loctited it, and it was good for maybe 800 rounds. I may just do that again and hit it a little harder and just seal it on in. I can always break it loose later. But aside from that, really good package. So that's my take on the updates on it. Just short of 2 years into it, several thousand rounds, lots of rental use. It's a good system, and for the money, it's an excellent system. And you've got that modularity that no one else has right now. Overall, I really like the system. The improvements are well, real improvements, and not just mixing things up. It took them a while to perfect it, but they're doing a good job, and it's a good solid pistol. If you know me well and watch my videos, I'm not really locked into one system. I'm kind of partial to Walthers, but I'm willing to experiment a lot of things and see what this market has to offer. We're really living in a golden age of guns right now. Till next video, thanks for your time and consideration. Good day.